Captain Varrock sat in his command chair, a wicked grin on his face as he gazed at the swirling void ahead. Restricted Zone Theta, a place no one dared enter. Stories of lost ships, strange disappearances, and eerie warnings kept most explorers and criminals away. But Varrock wasn't just any pirate. He had looted Imperial warships, smuggled stolen tech, and even escaped execution on 3 different worlds. Rules and warnings meant nothing to him. His ship, the Ravager, was one of the most feared in the Outer Rim, and today it would claim whatever treasures lay hidden in the forbidden region of space. As they crossed the invisible border into the zone, an unsettling silence filled the ship. The usual hum of the engines sounded hollow, and the lights flickered for just a second, barely noticeable, yet enough to send a chill through some of the crew. Varrock leaned forward, narrowing his eyes at the massive derelict ships floating in the darkness. Some were ancient war vessels, their hulls scarred and broken, while others belonged to alien civilizations long extinct. There was no movement, no distress signals, only lifeless hulks adrift in the void. The crew murmured uneasily. They had expected resistance. Instead, they found a graveyard. "Scan for life signs," Varrock ordered, but the ship's systems were already failing. The sensors showed nothing but static. Frustrated, he barked orders to launch a scout ship. Within minutes, a smaller vessel detached from the Ravager and glided toward the wreckage. The crew watched its progress on the screen as it weaved through the dead ships, sending back images of ruined hulls and shattered cockpits. Then, without warning, the transmission cut out. The scout ship was gone. A tense silence fell over the bridge. "What the hell was that?" one of the officers muttered. Varrock clenched his jaw. Could be a cloaked mine, or something worse. He turned to his weapons officer. "Charge the cannons. We're not alone here." The crew scrambled, fingers moving across consoles, but the ship refused to respond. The weapons remained offline, and the shields flickered weakly. Then, the proximity alarm blared. Something was moving. At first, they thought it was debris, but then the dark shapes took form. Sleek, black warships emerged from the shadows, gliding forward with an eerie stillness. Their design was old, too old, yet impossibly advanced. Their hulls bore no insignia except for one symbol, one that sent fear through even the most hardened criminals, the mark of old Earth's lost armada. A deep, cold voice crackled through the comms, speaking in perfect galactic standard. "You have trespassed into Terran sovereign space. Leave immediately." For the first time in years, Captain Varrock hesitated. He had raided dozens of fleets, faced Imperial warlords, and fought off bounty hunters, but this was something else. He could feel it in his bones, an ancient power that had been waiting in the dark, watching. His crew exchanged uneasy glances. They had all heard the stories. Humanity had vanished from the galactic stage centuries ago, their empire collapsing in fire and war. But if these ships were real, then humanity's greatest warriors had never truly disappeared. They had simply been waiting. "Open fire!" Varrock snarled, refusing to show fear. The weapons officer tried, but the ship didn't respond. The engines sputtered. The shields collapsed. The controls became useless in their hands. The Ravager, a ship that had outrun Imperial fleets and survived countless battles, was now a helpless toy in the presence of ghosts. Then, the warships struck. Beams of white-hot energy lanced through the void, tearing through the Ravager's hull with surgical precision. The crew barely had time to scream before explosions rocked the ship. Fires erupted. Metal twisted and groaned. The pirates tried to fight back, but they had no chance. One by one, their systems were destroyed with inhuman efficiency, leaving them defenseless in the cold void. Varrock coughed, struggling to breathe through the smoke-filled bridge. His ship was crippled. His crew was dead or dying. He reached for the comms, voice shaking. "We surrender." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, the voice returned. "You were warned." The warships didn't fire again. They didn't need to. The Ravager was dead in the water, left to drift among the ruins of those who had come before. Varrock slumped in his chair, realization sinking in. The restricted zone wasn't protecting an ancient treasure. It was guarding something far worse. And now, he was part of it. Somewhere in the darkness, the Terran fleet vanished once more, their mission unchanged. They were not conquerors. They were not lost. They were watching, waiting for the next fool who dared to trespass. The Ravager floated like a wounded beast in the heart of the restricted zone. The once mighty pirate warship was now crippled, its engines flickering weakly as Captain Varrock stared into the void. His crew was restless, some whispering prayers to long-forgotten gods, others gripping their weapons as if that would protect them from the unseen horror lurking in the dark. They had come expecting riches, wreckage to loot, maybe even a forgotten empire's technology. But what they had found was silence, a silence that pressed against their minds, suffocating and unnatural. They had lost a scout ship. One moment it was there, scanning the derelict wrecks, and the next its signal vanished, as if it had never existed. No explosion, no distress call, just gone. Now, the Ravager's own systems were failing one by one, and the crew knew this was no accident. Something was here. Something ancient. Something watching. Varrock clenched his fists, forcing his voice to remain steady. Run a full scan. I want to know what's out there. The bridge crew obeyed, but the screens showed nothing. No life signs, no ships, only the endless void. And yet, Varrock could feel them. He could feel eyes in the dark. The wreckage around them wasn't just a graveyard. It was a warning, a reminder that those who entered never left. Then the lights flickered. A shiver ran through the ship as a cold wind, impossible in the vacuum of space, seemed to sweep across the bridge. Crew members looked at each other, their fear unspoken but clear in their eyes. The comms crackled static, broken whispers that made no sense. Then, a sound. A low, metallic hum, like a long-dead machine stirring to life. A voice trembled from the sensor officer's station. There's movement. Varrock turned sharply. Where? The officer's face was pale as he pointed at the main screen. Everywhere, the wreckage was shifting. No, not the wreckage, the shadows around them. Slowly, as if waking from a deep slumber, they unfolded. The derelict ships, once thought to be lifeless, now pulsed with eerie energy. Dim lights flickered in the hollow husks, and strange, unreadable symbols glowed faintly on their surfaces. Then, the true nightmare revealed itself. From the depths of the darkness, they came a T first. It was impossible to see them clearly. They were more like distortions in space, shapes blacker than the void itself, moving without sound, without haste. Then, the Ravager's emergency lights briefly illuminated one, and what Varrock saw made his blood freeze. A ship, sleek and deadly, its hull covered in markings that had not been seen in centuries. The insignia was unmistakable, the lost warships of Old Earth. No one spoke. No one breathed. The ghosts had returned. A transmission crackled through the ship's speakers. It was not a distress call. Not a warning. It was something else, something ancient, cold, and inhuman. A voice layered with echoes spoke in galactic standard, unauthorized vessel detected. You are trespassing in restricted space. Leave immediately. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Ranner, however, smirked. They're just automated defenses, he said. Old AI protocols. This fleet has been dead for centuries. Move forward. The Black Fang advanced, inching closer to the nearest derelict. The massive warship loomed over them, its surface covered in forgotten battle scars. Ranner's fingers tightened around the armrest of his chair. If they could salvage just one of these ships, they'd be unstoppable. Then, the warships moved. Not like drifting wrecks carried by gravity. Not like relics of a bygone era. They moved with purpose. Their engines ignited with a pale, unnatural glow. Their weapons came online. The Black Fang's alarms blared as the enemy ships turned their guns on them. Shields up. Full power to engines. Ranner bellowed. The first blast struck before they could react. A beam of searing energy cut through space, slicing through their shields like paper. The ship shuddered violently. Consoles exploded. The crew screamed as emergency lights flashed red. The pirates fired back, unleashing a barrage of missiles and plasma rounds, but it was useless. The Terran warships took the hits without flinching. Their hulls didn't crack, their movements didn't slow. It was like trying to fight ghosts made of steel and fire. Another blast tore through the Black Fang's port side, sending the ship into a violent spin. Ranner struggled to stay upright as the gravity stabilizers flickered. He turned to his crew, his voice sharp. "Get us out of here." "Now!" the helmsman tried. The engines roared as they pushed the ship into full retreat. But the Terran fleet was faster. Too fast. One by one, the warships encircled them. The Black Fang was trapped. The Guardians had decided their fate. The comms crackled again. "You were warned." The final blast struck the core of the ship. Everything went white. The last thing Ranner saw was the great Terran fleet standing motionless in the dark, their duty unchanged, their presence eternal. When the Black Fang failed to report back, the pirate fleet sent scouts. They found nothing, no debris, no wreckage, not even a trace of a battle. The Black Fang, its captain and its entire crew, had simply vanished. And in the void, the Guardians waited. They did not serve an empire. They did not fight for conquest. They had one mission: to protect the last secrets of old Earth, to ensure that no unworthy soul claimed what was never meant for them. And they never failed, because some things were never meant to be found. The Iron Fang, a heavily armed warship, cut through the darkness of space, its black hull reflecting the distant glow of dying stars. Captain Doran stood on the bridge, his eyes locked on the forbidden sector ahead. Every chart, every official report, every old war record had the same message: DONOTE, NTEA. But Doran was not a man who followed warnings. He had spent his life looting the wrecks of forgotten battles, stealing from the ruins of dead empires. He had heard the stories, the whispers of an ancient Terran fleet lost in the void, guarding something beyond imagination. And if the legends were true, then the prize waiting beyond this sector was worth any risk. The ship's navigator swallowed hard. "Captain, we are approaching restricted space. Sensors show nothing." Doran smirked. "Nothing means no defenses. Move forward." The Iron Fang advanced. The vast emptiness stretched before them, but something was wrong. The void here was darker, heavier, like a presence unseen but deeply felt. Even the ship's systems seemed sluggish, as if space itself was resisting them. The crew shifted uneasily. These were seasoned pirates, men and women who had seen horrors across the galaxy, yet now they whispered among themselves, their hands tightening around their weapons. Then the lights flickered. It was barely noticeable at first, just a brief dimming, a moment of static across the screens. But then the power surged, alarms flashed, and the ship trembled as if struck by an unseen force. The comms crackled to life, but instead of a distress signal or enemy transmission, there was only a deep, mechanical hum. A voice, layered and distorted, spoke in galactic standard: "You should not be here." Silence fell over the bridge. The voice had no source, no signal, no location. Just a warning, spoken from the void itself. Doran clenched his fists. "Who the hell are you?" The screens glitched. For a brief moment, the entire bridge was bathed in static. Then, one by one, shapes began to appear on the radar: huge, silent warships emerging from the darkness. Their hulls were ancient, blackened by time yet untouched by decay. They moved without thrusters, gliding through space like predators closing in on their prey. Their markings were unmistakable. Terran warships. The lost fleet. The crew froze. These were not myths. They were real. The comms flared again. "Turn back. This is your final warning." Doran felt his heart pound, but he wasn't about to let fear stop him. Weapons online. Target the closest ship. The gunners hesitated. "Captain, maybe we should fire." Doran roared. The Iron Fang unleashed everything: missiles, plasma bursts, railgun rounds. The void lit up with destruction. But the enemy ships didn't flinch. The shots passed right through them. No impact. No damage. Like firing at ghosts. Then, the Terran fleet moved. Their weapons activated in eerie silence, glowing with an energy unlike anything seen before. The first blast came with unnatural precision, piercing straight through the Iron Fang shields as if they didn't exist. The ship lurched, systems failing in an instant. Another shot followed, severing the engines. The Iron Fang was trapped. Panic broke out. The crew scrambled to regain control, but it was too late. The power failed completely. The air grew cold, as if something was draining the life from the ship itself. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls. Then the whispers began. Soft, distant, growing closer. Doran turned, gun drawn, but there was nothing there, only darkness, creeping toward him like a living thing. His crew screamed as one by one, they disappeared, pulled into the shadows. No bodies. No remains. Just emptiness where they had stood. The comms flared for the last time. You were warned. Then, everything went black. When the Iron Fang failed to return, search parties were sent. But there was no wreckage. No debris. No distress signals. It was as if the ship had never existed. The Forbidden Zone remained untouched, an empty void where countless ships had vanished before. The Empires still feared it. The traitors still whispered about it. And the lost Terran Guardians still waited in the dark, watching. Because some warnings should never be ignored. The last warning had been given. The Galactic Council had long suspected that humanity was hiding something. For centuries, humans had played the role of a rising species, expanding cautiously, fighting only when provoked, and never revealing too much about their past. But something was off. They had survived wars they should have lost, built ships too powerful for their supposed level of technology, and held a confidence that didn't match their position in the galactic hierarchy. The other species had watched them carefully, waiting for a mistake, a moment of weakness, anything that could explain the mystery. And now, they finally had a chance to uncover the truth. Admiral Korvek of the X-Althar Dominion stood aboard his flagship, gazing at the massive, dark planet before him. Earth's shadow. That was what the humans called it, a lifeless rock hidden in the far reaches of space, surrounded by a gravitational field so strong that no scanners could penetrate its surface. It had been off-limits for centuries, an uncharted zone where no alien ship had ever been allowed to enter. But today, that changed. The Council had grown tired of humanity's secrecy, and Korvek had been given orders: enter the Forbidden Zone, discover the truth, and, if necessary, take whatever humanity was hiding. The fleet moved forward, a dozen warships cutting through the darkness. At first, nothing happened. The planet remained silent. No defenses, no transmissions, just silence. But as they descended, their ships began to shake. The gravitational field intensified. Instruments failed. Energy signatures spiked and vanished as if something was watching them. Korvek narrowed his eyes. Full power to stabilizers. Keep moving. Then they saw it. A structure, massive and ancient, hidden beneath the planet's surface. A shipyard. No, something bigger. A vault stretching for miles, covered in strange markings that pulsed with a dim blue light. And inside, resting in silent rows, were ships. Human ships. But not the kind the galaxy had seen before. These were different, larger, sleeker, armed with weapons unlike anything ever recorded. Korvek's claws tightened against the armrest of his command chair. Scan them. The crew tried. But every system failed. The readings made no sense. The ships were old, far older than the human expansion into space. Impossible. Had humanity been holding back their true power this whole time? Had they let the galaxy believe they were weak, while in reality, they had a fleet strong enough to wipe out entire civilizations? A transmission crackled through the bridge. A human voice, calm and cold, filled the ship. You were warned. Leave now. Korvek bared his teeth. Fire on the vault. Destroy their fleet before they activate it. The Exalthar warships opened fire. Beams of plasma and kinetic rounds struck the vault surface and vanished. No explosion. No impact. As if space itself had swallowed the attack. Then, without warning, the human ships woke up. Their hulls pulsed with energy. Engines, dead for centuries, roared back to life. And then, they moved. Not with the sluggish drift of old war relics, but with impossible speed. The first human ship turned, weapons charging, and in a flash of white light, the lead Exalthar destroyer was gone. Not damaged. Not disabled. Erased, panic spread through the fleet. Korvax shouted orders, but it was too late. The human ships unleashed hell. Their weapons tore through shields as if they were nothing. Their movements defied physics. Their mere presence sent terror through even the bravest warriors. The Exalthar ships tried to flee, but the void itself seemed to trap them. Every attempt to warp away failed. Every desperate call for reinforcements was blocked. One by one, the alien warships vanished, consumed by a force beyond their understanding. Korvax's flagship was the last. His screens flickered, static filling the bridge as the human transmission returned. The same calm voice. Cold. Final. We warned you. The last thing Korvax saw was the shadow of a human warship looming over his vessel, its weapons charging with a power beyond anything in the known galaxy. Then, nothing. When the Council sent scouts to investigate, they found nothing. No debris. No wreckage. No sign that a battle had even taken place. The fleet was simply gone. The planet remained dark and lifeless, just as it had been for centuries. Humanity refused to answer questions. They gave no explanations. No warnings. But the galaxy now knew the truth. Humanity's secret was not a weapon, not a fleet, not a hidden empire. It was fear. The fear that, if ever pushed too far, if ever truly threatened, the humans would open the vault and release the past. And when that day came, there would be no war, no surrender, only silence. Because some secrets were never meant to be uncovered.